Hey, everybody. Thanks. First of all, obviously great to be here. My name is John Poli. I'm the industry principal for healthcare at RingCentral. I manage their global strategy and go-to-market strategy. But first of all, I just want to thank the team at ARD for hosting this today and having us here today. They're great people, really appreciate it. Thank you very much for being here. And also, thank you all the clients that are here as well. Your valuable time is very interesting and very valuable, so you want to make sure you spend it on the right things. We got a lot to talk about today with Ring. So if we're all streaming fans, and if you've noticed how streaming goes nowadays, because we all have such short attention spans, what happens in every Netflix or Prime series? The first episode, the first scene, is the dead guy or the dead gal, right? They bring it out right in front because they don't capture your attention, you're gone, you're somewhere else. So I'll start the same way, since no one's on their phone yet, so we're lucky, that the point that we're making very simply is that your communications platform is probably the most important tool in your IT toolbox to manage digital transformation. We'll get to all the reasons why, but that's the fact. A few things that are high level when you think about your business and how you're going to exercise that or exercise it for your clients. The first is, obviously, the fact that what was once a transactional tool is now a wholly refined and reformed environment for managing business very intimately. For now, for example, automated digital experiences are part of everybody's portfolio. It's becoming the front lines of every interface with customers, consumers, patients, members, depending on your industry. That's happening right away, right now, at a very rapid pace. The second thing, and this is very important when we talk about ARG yourselves, is thinking about, when we talk about transformation tool, that means operational change driven by business. So what businesses today are really ready to understand every conversation their employees have with each other and with their clients, and to understand the sentiment of that, and understand what that means for their business and how to integrate that information into the actual protocols and activities that they're going to manage in the future. It's a new world, and it's happening real time right now, and 25 and 26 have been amazing in that space. So we're going to talk about all those things and then some, but let's talk a little bit, I'll just use a little more of my history because it goes through communications history, and we'll just talk about it. So I started, after I got out of the Air Force, I provisioned the first internet circuits in 1995. So at Sprint, we actually delivered the internet for the first time. At that time, communications was really interesting. Went through all those 90s craziness up in Northern Virginia, Sprint, LCI, Quest for a matter of time. Then I crashed the startup, went out to Microsoft, ran their network as a general manager, and then I went to EDS and ran the networks for Shell and for GM for about 3 to 5 years. And then I wanted to move into something that was more driven by a business model and transform those businesses. I thought communications was the tool through which we could do it. So I moved into healthcare, became the CIO at Delta Dental for 5 years, sat in that chair, understood the challenges in healthcare, and then I moved to Gartner and did my post-grad work for 7 years at Gartner, working with clients around the actual execution of models for actual digital transformation. That was hot at the time. It's a dated term now, but it was very hot at the time. And it allowed us to really think about how technology impacts operational change. And that's the issue we're going to deal with today, is that AI is happening so fast. How do we actually manage our operational models going forward? And I'll share with you how Ring is building the tools to do that and examples of how we're actually providing results today and looking at the future. So as we move through Gartner, I came into Ring in 2020 as the healthcare lead and started really applying these technologies and these concepts to healthcare, but also we did it with all my peers in other vertical industries, in all industries. And what we saw, obviously, when COVID hit, is that the cloud blew up. Everybody needed to get remote. Everybody gathered to the cloud. Everybody got those communication tools in place, and it accelerated cloud communications as the core next generation communication network. Then in 24, AI hit. And AI puts the cloud activity to shame in terms of the impact it's going to have, particularly in communications. And we'll talk about all that stuff. Well, let's go and talk about how Ring, which invests about $300 million a year in R&D, is bringing that together. And it goes to our platform strategy. So very simply, it starts with the core network. When we look at cloud communication, for those of you who don't know RingCentral, I'm going to go through a little of the pieces of the puzzle that bring us together, because when we get to the end, all of these pieces matter. So we look at the enterprise, we look at the network. RingCentral has been in business since 1999, 26 years. We're pure UCaaS, CCaaS, and communications tools by design. We've been in the cloud the whole time. Our strength starts with our platform. What that means is our network, a global network that's in over 40 countries. We have over 300 pinging points in the US alone. We connect in multiple ways. We are a 5 nines environment, multiple compliance issues, HIPAA compliant as well, making sure that we're providing a carrier class environment to move all the old analog systems and land-based systems into the cloud with confidence. This includes last mile. This includes resiliency. This includes taking your analog plant and moving it. We're also a CLEC, so your number porting and all that other stuff, you have to get the basics right. When you're into a large enterprise and you want to move all those systems over, everything from the elevator, the E911 activity, all needs to be managed securely and in a way that provides full services across the board. So that platform is in place. Our engineers are in place to do that, and we've been doing that for 25 years. Next level, on top of that, again, we believe we're best in business. In fact, we put more resiliency into our network this year with capital investments that are going to make it even more redundant, and you'll be seeing announcements of that nature coming out probably by the end of the first quarter of this year. Next level is communications layer. At that layer is a full suite of communications, everything from voice, video, messaging, fax, digital fax, texting, contact center, large and enterprise contact centers, webinars and events. Everything you need in communications from your utility provider. You get everything you need from one carrier, one link, all in the cloud, full set of services. And all those services are built clearly with best practice tools and innovation in mind. RingCentral will take any player from the individual small office owner all the way up to large enterprises to the front end of the innovation curve. We've been in Gartner's quadrant at the top end of innovation and top end of delivery for 11 straight years. We won innovation awards in healthcare, innovation awards in other areas as well in terms of our technology. So we want to provide that service for you. Those two layers are then augmented as well with our API layers. Once again, we make an open architecture where everything in communications can be integrated into the ecosystem of your vertical industry tools. Because in the end, the communication system needs to get intelligent so it can be more contextual as it evolves. And at the same time, we need to take the information and data the communication system now aggregates and deliver it back to those subsystems to manage your business, whether it's an ERP system, an EMR system, a nurse call system in healthcare, or other things. So these APIs, again, we lead the industry here, and we think they're critical because they provide, for example, the very keys you need, whether it's a learning management system in education, it's a dealer management system in automobiles, it's Jack Henry in financial services, or it's Epic in EMRs. We want to make sure that we're using the functional tools for the industry at their optimal use, and we're also using the best communication tools to deliver services to that. What we see in many cases is people are connecting to central systems, plug-in CPaaS applications for texting, for communications, for individual AI activity, but they're destroying it. They're additional stacks. And clients don't want additional stacks. They don't want to put the pieces together. They want holistic solutions by design. So you take these three layers, the three swim lanes that we're best in breed at in the industry, and then we say, how do we then target and how do we then apply AI to that? How does AI change that game? Well, we are bringing artificial intelligence to every one of those services in a very common systemic way. We look at 3 dimensions. The first is what we call automate. Our tool, AI Receptionist, is part of this. If you think of moving from a personal experience with a live person to a digital experience where you're interacting as well with a voice environment, where you're no longer talking to a human, you're talking to a large language model, or you're talking to an IVA. We see a ton of movement. If you look at 2 very simple things, look at today, if you're managing your IVRs today and trying to figure out your tree, your primary tree, your secondary tree, if you're managing portals today to see how much information you have to put in there, if you're building FAQs for your staff so they can answer questions when they're called in, all that activity is pretty much moot today when you look at the next generation of tools. Your IVA can answer all those questions in simple language interfaces today. And we're seeing that take off across industry today, especially in things like my world, like healthcare. Healthcare has been a laggard in most communication tools in IT. Healthcare is now the fastest adopter of AI tools in our world. In fact, if you look at RingCentral, if you looked at our AI business as an independent business, we'd be a unicorn. We're doing hundreds of millions of dollars in the AI business today. So the key is, first of all, understanding that. You put steroids into that with the integrations because now I can go agentic. I can take that same IVA and I can actually schedule an appointment in an EMR system or do something with customer service directly in your tools of record. So now I have the ability to take activities that were once done with systems only by operators or users, and I can also move that to a digital world. And that's where we really see the future happening. The integration to core systems tied to these language models and workflows, and that automation is changing the game on the front end of what we call the first phase of automation. The second phase is what we call assist. Assist has to do with the real-time activity of a live conversation between two people, where you're actually talking real-time with either a bot or even with an agent. And what's happening is while that call is happening, we're understanding the sentiment analysis, we're understanding the content of that call, and as we understand that content, we're generating new data real-time based on that content for that agent to talk to. It allows the agent to provide a contextual conversation and an intimacy with their client that they never had before. And as they ask questions that are off the mark, no need to search through all these databases and tools on their desk. They can just ask the question and the AI tools feed them that information by design. For the user, it's great. For the operator, it also allows them to drive protocols and decision-making. So if you have an activity you want to ensure that your agents follow, it can be fed through that very same process. So we're seeing both those things, helping both the provider to deliver better services through the agent and allows the consumer, patient, member, whatever it may be, to get a lot more information, a faster call, and no transfers to all these different specialists. So you're seeing that whole assist world take off as well, real time. And the third piece is what we call conversation intelligence, which is probably, to me, the most critical piece, particularly as I look at healthcare. Because what conversation intelligence does very simply is that it provides all the information you ever needed in your organization and all the information you ever needed about your members, patients, or consumers. How do you manage that data today, and what would you do? Operationally, you can see exactly where your pros and cons were happening and how your staff operated. And when it came to things like when it comes to things like managing your operational team, you have all this precise data. So when we look at all three of these AI pieces, your ability to change the models you have today are very powerful. So for each of these, for example, we have examples that's happening today. We look at AIR, for example, the front end. Murfreesboro, which is a large clinic down in the Southeast, was having real trouble with their IVRs. They had patient holds, they had drops happening all the time, and they had trouble routing and scheduling their patients. We sampled a quick use of AIR for about 10% of their users and solved 100% of their problems. They then took it across their entire clinic structure. That entire deal happened within 1 quarter. And it's the largest deal RingCentral signed in AI to date. That's how fast this stuff is taking on, and it's changing ROI immediately. When we look at the assist data, for example, we have a Patient Connect client who was doing 7-minute intakes for every client they had to add. This company aggregates and handles all these intakes for all these clinics that share basically a contact center. The average time using assist tools moved from 7 minutes to 4 minutes, increased productivity over 60%, and allowed, in fact, their contact center users' satisfaction rate went up 20%. So you're getting a multiplier effect when it comes to satisfaction, data, and return on the investments you're making in this space. And the third example, when we talk about ACE and intelligence, Medicare manufacturing was doing 1% of their calls were being reviewed in terms of their contact center for value. And each one of them took 23 minutes. After they implemented our ACE tool that allowed them to look at things real time with our models, the evaluation time came down to 2 minutes, and they did 100% of calls. So there's no question in terms of surveys and data that's estimating value, you're going to know exactly what your contact center team is doing and exactly how well they're doing with every client. And the bigger thing about that is, as I said earlier, now you have such an intimacy with consumers. How do you manage that as a company? What do you do? In healthcare, I think it's material. I think the actual content of a conversation with your doctor is material to the diagnostic protocol they're going to provide to you. That's where it's headed. It gets really interesting. So for everybody here, that's the world of communications for you in the future. That's what you have to think about. And those are the very issues that RingCentral will help you with. We're becoming advisors to our clients, no longer just a commodity or a product. We need to sit with you, talk about your business, and model that with these very same tools. We're changing the way we do business. We're changing the way we do our customer support. We're adding more people and value systems and executive briefings to current clients to understand how they're evolving, to integrate these tools. And the key is doing it at the pace you want. So again, the platform we built, the services we built, the APIs, all feed this layer and give you a comprehensive communication system to drive your next generation. So thank you very much. Appreciate your time.